Good morning, everyone. Nice to have you with us. If you take a seat, I'd like to invite you to run through the final hymn with me, because it's not one we sing very often, and it has some interesting twists and turns. So once you have that teal hymnal in your hand, you can open it up to number 1074. The title is Turn the World Around. And we're going to go through just a couple lines, not the whole song. So the tune begins, if I can get the right page here. We come from the fire, living in the fire. Go back to the fire, turn the world around. Try that with me. We come from the fire, living in the fire. Go back to the fire. Thank you. Top of the second page goes, whoa, so is life. Ah, so is life. Try it. Whoa, so is life. Ah, so is life. Whoa, so is life. Ah, so is life. Thank you. Top of the third page. Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? Try it. Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? You know. Thank you. And then this next little bit. Whoa, so is life. Abatiwa. So is life. Try that. Whoa, so is life. Abatiwa. So is life. Whoa, so is life. Abatiwa. So is life. Thank you. And then we finish up on the last page by adding a little, a really expressive ha at the right place. So go ahead at the top of page F, or sorry, top of the last page. I call it letter F. Go. Whoa, who is life? Abatiwa. Ha, who is life? Whoa, so is life. Abatiwa. Ha, so is life. And that's the song, and we'll sing all the verses as they come. Thank you very much. We're glad you're with us.
What a great way to start our worship this morning. Thank you for your music. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church. Cedar Lane is a liberal religious community where we gather to explore the eternal, nurture community, and build a more just world. We are a place where love works. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your spiritual journey and whatever your life circumstance, you are welcome here. Before I do any other greetings, I want to introduce Jordan, who this is the only time you'll see him because he's totally invisible. See, he's wearing black. He's totally invisible. So since Cedar Lane is in the process of building a brand new church website, we are getting some photographs for this church website. Thank you, everyone who's sitting in the front row and sitting up here. And Jordan will be taking photographs of anything and everything in our worship service today, so just pretend he's invisible. If you're new to Cedar Lane, though, you're not invisible. If you're new to Cedar Lane, would you raise your hand for just a moment? We have a small gift that we'd love to give you. And please keep it raised while they're getting those gifts to you. And we hope that you'll stay to join us in coffee hour today. And for those who are new, those who are relatively new, those who are just wondering a few questions about Cedar Lane, today we'll be having our monthly new member orientation immediately after this service in the library. It'll be a slightly shorter one so that we'll have plenty of time to come back in here for the annual meeting. Speaking of which, today is our annual congregational meeting. I know that's what y'all are all here for and excited for, right? Absolutely. It'll be happening right here in the sanctuary at 12:45. Light lunch will be provided ahead of time, and voting members will be signed in, I believe, at the back of the sanctuary. I hope that you will stay around for it. This morning, we will be sharing our offering plate with Cedar Lane's Scholarship Fund for a Montgomery College student. For a number of years, Cedar Lane has been supporting a deserving graduate from Rockville High School with the first year's tuition. This fund began following the death of a car accident of a student. And once a year, we share our offering to help replenish this fund. However, this year marks the first year we'll be shifting the way this scholarship is awarded to bring it better into line with our congregation's priorities and partnerships. Our plan this year is to award the scholarship to a deserving Montgomery College student who is an immigrant and having trouble securing funds to attend college. Please give generously to support this important work of Cedar Lane. Now, Hillary has a few things about Tapestry to share with us.
Thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. So, the Lifespan Religious Education Ministry team is excited to announce our new multi-generational educational program called Tapestry, or, as many of you are already appropriately calling it, the new Spring Bee. Woo! Yeah. Tapestry will occur during the first 3 Sundays in June following our worship service from 11:30 to 12:45. And during this time, we'll have a collection of classes led by members of our community that will be offered to everyone. Each class each week will be standalone and will not require advanced registration. So you can just show up and pick one that you feel like doing that day. On the final Sunday, we're going to have a big party and picnic complete with food trucks that Ashley, our administrator, has already reserved for the occasion. So that's awesome. We have a wonderful assortment of courses during Tapestry, from intellectual to artistic to rhythmic, environmental, you name it, all in line with our theme of the first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of all beings. We have a table set up in the lounge this morning with more info about Tapestry classes, as well as a graph that Ashley and I put together that we hope you'll fill out so we can get an idea of where interests lie and plan accordingly for that. So come on by, check it out, ask some questions, and hey, let's give it a shot, all right?
All right.
And our assistant minister search team has an announcement that they are dying to share. And Chris, could we get a hand too? Just like the first service. Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Gail Riley, and I'm serving on the search team for our new assistant minister. Along with me here today are Betsy Binks and Bob Harrison, also members of the search team. People who couldn't join us for this service, Raisha Anderson, Mary Farrar, and Tim Persons. So we've been working very hard and diligently over the last 3.5 to 4 months, and we are thrilled to bring this announcement to you today. Drum roll, please. So our new assistant minister is Catherine Katie Romano Griffin. She is, all right. Actually, today she is graduating from Meadville Lombard Theological School. So it's a thrilling day for her as well as for us. We also want to thank everyone in the congregation who contributed your thoughts, ideas, hopes, and characteristics for the assistant minister who can really help us move forward to embody our mission and vision. We're thrilled that Katie will be joining us. We think that she is going to add a lot to the excitement and enthusiasm that currently exists at Cedar Lane as we move toward building our beloved community. Just a couple of announcements. She will officially start on August 1st, and she and her husband are coming to Cedar Lane to the service on June 11th. If you happen to see, there was an e-blast that came out this Thursday. Did you see it? It was sent by Ashley Del Sol. So if you would look at that, that gives a little blurb, a bio, that you can get more information about Katie. But she will be here on June 11th at the service, so we hope that a lot of folks can come and meet her. We're going to have a light breakfast, a continental breakfast at 9 o'clock before the service, so that we don't conflict with any of the tapestry classes. So please join us in giving Katie a warm welcome when she arrives here at Cedar Lane. Thank you.
We begin our call to worship this morning from these words adapted from the Reverend Leslie Takahashi. They teach us to read in black and white. Truth is this, the rest falls. You are whole or broken. Who you love is acceptable or not. Life tells its truth in many hues.
We are taught to think in either-or terms, to believe the teachings of Jesus or the Buddha, to believe in human potential or a power beyond a single will. I am broken or I am powerful. But life embraces multiple truths, speaks of both and of and.
We are taught to see in absolutes, good versus evil, male versus female, old versus young, gay versus straight.
Let us see the fractions, the spectrum, the margins. Let us open our hearts to the complexity of our worlds. Let us make our lives sanctuaries to nurture our many identities.
For the day is coming when all will know that a river of identities can ebb and flow over the static, stubborn rocks in its course. The day will come when all will see that the margins hold the center.
Do you want to get the chalice lighting?
As Bob and Kate Harrison come forward to light our chalice, symbol of our shared faith, please rise in body and/or in spirit to share the chalice lighting words. With humility and courage, born of our history, we are called as Unitarian Universalists to build the beloved community where all souls are welcome as blessings, and the human family lives whole and reconciled. With this version of our bodies, hearts, and minds, we kindle our chalice.
Thank you. During recent weeks, I have found myself ruminating over Langston Hughes' Let America Be America Again. In this poem, Hughes was known as the poet of the Harlem Renaissance, evokes the power of the American promise coupled with the pain of indignity and inequality. He speaks to the complex mix of rage and hope, of anxiety and optimism that characterizes the Black experience in America, and that I would argue has characterized the experience of many Americans at some point, white, brown, Black, indigenous, and immigrant. To mark the 50th death anniversary of Langston Hughes, which is tomorrow, we share in both words and music his work. Let America be America again. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great strong land of love, where never kings connive, nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one a bough. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark, and who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Black man behind slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek, and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker sold to the machine. I am the Black man servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean, hungry yet today despite the dream. Beaten yet today, O pioneers, I am the man who never got ahead, the poorest worker bartered through the years. Yet I am the one who dreamt our basic dream in the old world where still a serf of kings, who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even yet its mighty daring sings in every brick and stone, in every furrow turned, that's made America the land it has become. Oh, I am the man who sailed those early seas in search of what I meant to be my home, for I am the one who left dark Ireland's shore and Poland's plain and England's grassy lea, and torn from Black Africa's strand, I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me. Surely not me. The millions on relief today, the millions shot down when we strike, the millions who have nothing for our pay, for all the dreams we have dreamed and all the songs we have sung and all the hopes we have held and all the flags we have hung, the millions who have nothing for our pay except a dream that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet and yet must be, the land where every man is free, the land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand of the foundry, whose plow in the rain, and must bring back our mighty dream again. Sure, call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must take back our land again, America. Oh yes, I say it plain, America never was America to me, and yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the rack and ruin of our gangster death, the abuse and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we, the people, must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains, and the endless plain, all the stretch of these great green states, and make America again. Please rise in body and or in spirit to sing, Oh, I Woke Up This Morning, number 153, the Gray Hymnal. This morning with my mom. Stay on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mom. Stay on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mom. And it was to stay on freedom. Hallelujah. 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 I was walking and talking with my mom, and it was to stay on freedom. Walking and talking with my mom, and it was to stay on freedom. Walking and talking with my mom, and it was to stay on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Singing and praying with my mom, and it was to stay on freedom. Singing and praying with my mom, and it was to stay on freedom. Singing and praying with my mom, and it was to stay on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah,
Let us now center ourselves in a time of mindfulness, a time to give voice to the joys, sorrows, and milestones in our shared life together, a time to reflect on the ebb and flow of our own lives. May all who gather here be held in the embrace of this community of care. We send healing wishes to Patrick Howell, who is recovering at home following a hospital stay this past week, and to Wangare Kamau, whose brother Solomon is recovering from major surgery in the Netherlands. We continue to hold in our hearts all those whose lives are lost and whose loved ones' lives are lost to violence and calamities in our world. May these friends of ours, our companions in the world, and all that lives unspoken in our hearts be held in the embrace of our community.
Please center yourselves and open your hearts with me. O love, be with us now, for you are our joy, and we need you so that we can carry the fresh, sweet air of spring into every day of the year. O love, be with us now, for you are our wisdom, and we need you so that we can see beyond our own desires to the needs of others, and so that we can have the courage to express ourselves when we feel we must be heard. O love, be with us now, for you are our strength, and we need you so that we can bear the pain of tragedies that have occurred in our personal lives, death, mental and physical illness, violence and separation, and bear the pain of tragedies that have been broadcast to the world. Shootings, religious wars, hate, and social injustices. O love, be with us now, for you are our love, and we need you so that we can give love honestly and generously and receive love openly and unabashedly. For as long as space and time remain, as long as conscious beings remain, as long as we remain, may our love remain to comfort, heal, and celebrate this world. Thanks be to love. Blessed be. We will now enter into a time of silence. If you are grieving a loss or commemorating an anniversary, you are welcome to stand in mourning and memory at this time until music begins. Please join me now in this time of quiet.
Good morning again, everyone. If my time here at Cedar Lane as Director of Music represents the last quarter of my professional life, The first 3 quarters bear no indication that this is where I would be. I was behind a horn. I was waving a baton. I was not a song leader. I did not consider myself to be an inspirer of those who sing. So this is a very interesting position that I've been in the last few years. And this morning I tell you how proud I am to be that person, and here's why. In the final page of the recently published annual report, which some of you will maybe see for the first time this afternoon, Reverend Abhi writes of building bridges between the diversities and the varieties. That's exactly what my colleagues, the local UU music directors, felt we should be addressing as we departed our annual Unitarian Universalist Musicians Network Conference in Madison, Wisconsin last summer. We had already determined that we would hold an event this spring in which all our choirs would participate. We had engaged the services of Dr. Rollo Dilworth, the noted composer and conductor, to write a brand new work for the occasion and come to Washington and lead us in its premiere. But our spiritual boat was adrift at that time as we could not settle on a text. He had suggested some, we countered with others. None of them felt right. In the end, we settled on the hymn tune, Peace Like a River. But as time went on and the heinous acts of violence enveloped the entire country, we all agreed that Black Lives Matter should become the focus of this yet-to-be-written anthem. We felt that we should embrace this opportunity to create a work that was more than just a commission, just a song. We wanted a work of principle, one that would allow our UU singers to be beacons of optimism for racial justice, and to be builders of bridges for all who enter these doors and beyond. I was the point person with Dr. Dilworth. It's what you get when you pipe up and say, why don't we get? And we exchanged several emails and phone calls as I attempted to steer him in this direction. As our conversations extended into the fall and winter, he was having difficulty finding the appropriate words. It was during a phone call in early January, I was standing right over there next to the windows, when in mid-sentence he paused and said, I think the text of Langston Hughes' Freedom's Plow will fulfill the goal of your organization. Henry, you read that poem and you'll feel it's one of the most powerful texts you've ever read. And I could tell by the tone and conviction in his voice that he had found his way. 2 weeks ago yesterday, May 6, many of our fine singers, along with 250 Unitarian Universalist choir members from around the entire metro area, delighted in working with this master conductor. He taught us a great deal about vocal techniques and choral presentation, and about the history of gospel and spiritual singing. Too much to share here with you, but there are a couple of points that I think will serve you as you listen to this anthem. First, the introduction is the final strain of My Country 'Tis of Thee. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. Dilworth remarked that this is the promise we made to ourselves a long time ago. He went on to say that Langston Hughes questions that promise in the lines of his poem, which Dilworth set to music. Quote, a land created in common, a dream nourished in common. Hughes goes on, if the house is not yet finished, don't be discouraged, builder. If the fight is not yet won, don't be weary, soldier. The plan and the pattern is here, woven from the beginning, into the warp and woof of America. And these next words are all in uppercase font. All are created equal. No one is good enough to govern another without the other's consent. Better to die free than to live as slaves. Finally, Dr. Dilworth taught us about the gospel style of stacking different texts, an oral metaphor depicting our ability to work together. You'll hear this idea late in the anthem when the tenors and basses begin with a line. They back away, the altos join with a different line. They back away, the sopranos join with a final line, all working together. Please enjoy with us, America, the Dream.
Thank you. Thank you for that powerful anthem. Good morning. I want to recognize the alumni of our senior youth group who are here in strength after having successfully completed their first year in college. They're kind of group here, and some of you over there and over there. It's wonderful to see you. So this morning I want to invite you to join me on a journey. A journey that, as journeys go, will have a few bumps. And as journeys go, there will be some challenge and hope and joy. It's part of my journey through this faith that I'm inviting you to companion me. And it took me a while to get to this place, to be able to share this journey with you. It took me 23 years to get to this place. But I hope you will join with me, even when it gets a little hard at times, even when you feel uncomfortable. I hope you will continue with me. Not just to stay with me, but also to hopefully support me as we journey together. Now, this reflection today came after witnessing in the past few weeks the hot mess that we find ourselves in at the Unitarian Universalist Association, of which we, Cedar Lane, is a member congregation. A hot mess that came about due to some hiring practices that came to light recently at the UUA. Now, here are some of the circumstances as I understand them. The UUA has 5 regional offices across the country, the staff of which is mainly intended to serve congregations to support their church programming, staffing support, stewardship, social justice, and institutional health. Now, of the 5 regional staff leaders, 2 are white women and 3 are white men. And one of the white male staff leaders recently retired from the southern region and was replaced by another white male minister. Now, charges of racism were leveled about that hiring by one of the candidates who was not chosen, who happened to be a person of color, a woman of color. Substantial concern was raised throughout our association that by passing over her, an important opportunity to live out our anti-racist, anti-oppressive, multicultural commitment as a religious institution was lost due to an unconscious but ingrained bias. Now, it is here that the UUA's choice earned the label white supremacy. Now, I know it is very hard and difficult for you to hear that term being used against our beloved faith movement, as it has been for me. I want to acknowledge that. It's been very hard to sit with that. Because when most of us hear about white supremacy, we think of the KKK, we think of white hoods, we think of burning churches, burning crosses, and lynching black bodies. We think of desecration of Jewish cemeteries and bomb threats being called into mosques and Jewish community centers and synagogues. We think of a time long past and places further south from where we are here. When I hear white supremacy, I think of Emmett Till, the 14-year-old who was lynched in Mississippi after being accused of whistling at a white woman. I think of the 4 little girls who were murdered in the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing in 1963. I think of Trayvon Martin and Sandra Bland and Tamir Rice and Jordan Edwards and many others. I think of Dylan Roof, who took the lives of 9 people during a prayer service at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina. I think of Steve Bannon, Breitbart News, and Richard Spencer. What I don't think of is my chosen faith, Unitarian Universalism. After all, we are the good guys, aren't we, who are committed to racial justice, who marched with Dr. King and others in Selma for civil rights, who gave up 2 of our own, the Reverend James Reeb and Viola Luzzo, as martyrs to the civil rights struggle, who care about Black Lives Matter, who yearn for our congregations to reflect the larger multicultural reality that is our country. We are the good guys. But you see, what occurred was not KKK-style racism, not individual hateful prejudice backed by institutional power, but racism as an expression of a broader white supremacist culture that we are all a part of. Let me try to unpack that a bit. Now, the UUA has had very strong non-discrimination policies in place, and the persons who did the hiring, including the colleague who has since resigned, followed all the requirements of that policy. People of color were encouraged to apply, and they did, and when the choice was made, a white male minister was selected. And until that person of color courageously blew the whistle, no one saw anything wrong with that hire. No one saw anything wrong. It is in that statement, my friends, that the meaning of white supremacy culture can be found. It was not leveled against the character or intentions of the UUA leaders, all of whom happened to be dear friends and colleagues of mine who were making the hiring decision. Rather, it was seen as yet another example of the unconscious structural racism that is our American inheritance from more than 5 centuries of the maintenance of white supremacy, an inheritance that is still prevalent even in a progressive religious movement like Unitarian Universalism. As my colleague and friend, the Reverend Bill Sinkford says, white supremacy culture is not about individual prejudice. It is about the pattern and practice of our faith. It's about the pattern and practice of our faith. The Reverend Lisa Ann Gundlach, Senior Minister of Neighborhood UU Church in Pasadena, who identifies as white, explains, and I quote, "White supremacy is a force much larger than any blatant act of racially motivated hatred. It's actually deeply woven into our personal attitudes, our culture, and our institutions in a way that we cannot often see. But it is working tirelessly to secure the most benefits for white people and the least benefits for people of color. Sometimes white supremacy simply shortchanges people of color. Sometimes it actively harms them. Sometimes it kills them, whether by the hands of police or life-shortening health disparities." End of quote. Now, over the course of my 23-year journey through this beautiful faith, a faith that I chose to belong to, fully aware and conscious of its liberal Euro-American Western Protestant roots and orientation, my family and I have been the recipients of both institutional and individual acts of racism and prejudice. From being told by some of my fellow white classmates in seminary that I did not have the requisite skills or background to be a UU minister because of my brown skin and foreign status, to being asked by a UUA Department of Ministry official kindly and in a very concerned way if I needed special treatment as a non-native English-speaking person to go through the ministerial fellowshipping process, to some fellow classmates whispering behind my back at graduation that my winning both awards for academic excellence and outstanding religious leadership was more due to my friendship with the former dean and some of the faculty than my actual abilities. to being told by another UUA official that our congregations were not ready to call UU ministers of color, so I should think about being an assistant minister somewhere or going into a new congregation situated in a predominantly Vietnamese neighborhood. Because, after all, I was Asian, and therefore I would know how to attract them to church. To being counseled by well-meaning UU colleagues to tone down, go easy on my Indianness and my Hindu spirituality, as they would not be relevant to the lives and experiences of average Unitarian Universalists. I did it anyway. To being asked by UU laypeople if my father owned a Dunkin' Donut store. Because isn't that what all Indians aspire to when they move here, when they're not being doctors or IT professionals? And when I called them on it, defensively reacting, "Can't you take a joke?" Or asking with genuine surprise, how I learned to speak English so well. You are so articulate. Now, I could go on and on and on about the many micro and macro aggressions that have come my way throughout my ministerial journey through this faith. It is painful, very hard to admit to myself that I survived all this for so long, and by our high UU standards succeeded in ministry by learning to push part of who I am deep inside me. By learning to function effectively from the margins of our faith, and by assimilating myself into a Euro-American culture while still protecting my Hindu heritage and Indian identity, by carefully cultivating an alternative life, an alternative reality outside this faith. By learning to live with the discomfort of not being able to be fully myself and with the disquiet of not being able to fully belong. By learning to make peace with the fact that for people of color in this faith and in this country, the struggle to belong is an integral part of the journey toward belonging. Now, while it is true that I experienced all this, prejudice and discrimination, it is also true as a heterosexual male, I received benefits and privileges undeserved than some of my gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and women colleagues in our movement. And while it is true that I experienced all this prejudice and discrimination, it is also equally true that it is this faith that welcomed me and my family, accepted and supported us through many challenges and crises over these years. You see, when my Unitarian Hindu group, the Brahma Samaj, abandoned the idea of supporting my seminary education, which was the reason I came to this country, it was the Reverend Dr. Spencer Levan, the Reverend Frank Robertson, two white male ministers, the Unitarian Church of Evanston, and the Unitarian Universalist Association that came to my aid. Ken McLean, that's how I met him, who supported my ministry, my education, and made it possible for me to pursue my ministerial studies and also to bring my family here from India. And when I couldn't find a congregation to serve in my first year in the ministry, it was the Reverend Dr. Michael Schuler, a senior white minister at the First Unitarian Society of Madison, who invited me as his interim associate minister to serve in the largest Unitarian Universalist congregation in our movement. And when congregations were not calling ministers of color, It was the Unitarian Universalists of Clearwater, this mid-sized congregation in this podunk little city in Florida, that took a huge risk calling me, a 29-year-old Indian immigrant with barely any ministerial experience, and allowing me to minister to them for 14 years. And at a time when there was only one other minister of color serving a large UU congregation, the Reverend Bill Singford at Portland, you, Cedar Lane, called me as your senior minister by an overwhelming vote of affirmation. And you, to this day, continue to support my ministry. And when my family experienced personal crises and losses over the years, it was our Unitarian Universalist family that was there for us and with us, companioning, supporting, and sustaining us through those difficult, challenging, and trying times. So I stayed. I stayed in spite of the racism and discrimination and because of the support and affirmation to make this my spiritual home. I stayed because Unitarian Universalism is the way I want to live my life. I stayed because Unitarian Universalism helps me be a better Hindu and challenges me to be a better human being. I stayed because I wanted my children to imbibe and practice the values and principles of this faith. I stayed because Unitarian Universalism is committed to working through racism and classism, homophobia and transphobia, sexism and ableism and all other forms of oppression, though we have much to learn and far to go. It is not either or, but both and. It is both ambivalence and faith, negation and affirmation, exclusion and inclusion, anguish and joy that has kept me in this faith. Now, I can understand why it would be so hard for many of us to hear that somehow we too are implicated in this system of white supremacy that we are all swimming in. To recognize that we too have been going along without seeing it, swimming in these waters which are, albeit, a bit more chlorinated than the others. But the challenge is to notice it, even if it is not part of your reality and experience. The challenge is to learn to sit quietly with our deep discomfort and learn to listen to people of color name their reality of swimming upstream against white supremacy all their lives, not just out there, but in here as well. And learn the difficult and fragile art of leaning into that discomfort, and in that way choosing to share what we as people of color have experienced in this faith. To say, yes, I see it, I understand it. Another challenge and a real opportunity is to bring the voices of people of color from the margins toward the center of our faith, which Bill Singford says will change the conversation and challenge some of our comfortable theological, sociological assumptions, as it will require a conversation about white supremacy culture. Now, the challenge is also in bringing those who are in the margins into the center without marginalizing those who are already in the center. Because engaging with and working to change white supremacy culture will inevitably call other communities who have been on the margins in toward the center as well. People who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, people who are differently abled, women, even Republican people. This is called intersectionality, folks. This is what intersectionality is. It describes how all of our identities are in relationship, and all must be known and seen for wholeness to emerge and the beloved community to happen. It doesn't happen by itself just because we put it in our vision statement. It happens this way. So despite all the travail and uncertainty and despair and hopelessness that threatens to engulf us as a movement, I believe we are present at a sacred moment when new life is about to emerge from the womb of the past. What now begins to breathe can become our shared future of mutual openness to accept each other in all of our differentness while affirming our common humanity. It is a time of opportunity for us, a time when we can redeem some of our history and build a new way forward. We can do this if we stay present, if we stay honest, if we begin to notice, if we lean into our discomfort and learn to hold ourselves and each other in this journey, if we are compassionate, and if we stay together at the table. So I ask, will we recognize the mystery of this possibility? Will we be open to its opportunities to construct a more authentic way of being? Will we dare to be a community where love really works? A community where we really dare, to embody beloved community? Or will we, once again, turn away, defensive, angry, preoccupied, even cynical? These are not questions. They are the agendas of today. They are the exciting, irresistible invitations to each of us to abandon prejudgment and our stubborn you refusals to see and hear one another more deeply. They are the program and the means for us who struggle for justice, equality, and reconciliation, who are willing to sacrifice to build the world we dream about. Now, in his incredible poem that we heard earlier, Langston Hughes describes the ideals of our country and says, "Let America be America again, the America that never was but still can be." I feel the same way about our faith. Let Unitarianism, Unitarian Universalism, be Unitarian Universalism again. The faith it was never yet, and yet can be. Let it be the tradition that it never has been, but yet must become. So may it be. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Abhi, for sharing your story in such a powerful way. Our community takes a good deal of work to keep going, and some of this work happens on a regular basis. Every year we have one or more congregational meetings after service today. Be sure to stay. But also every single week we have a ritual. We take our offering to share of your treasure, your money, your financial support to help make this community keep going. Our offering reminds us that our congregation belongs to us, to each of us as well as to the whole. It is an extension of our gratitude for this that we make our spiritual home and for the work that we do in the world. Our offering to support Cedar Lane and to support the Montgomery College Scholarship Fund of Cedar Lane will now be given and gratefully received. Thank you for your generosity.
Through the work of our hands and the works of our lives, our love is made real. May we be grateful for all that we bring and share to make this a beloved community. Please stand to sing hymn number 1074, Turn the World Around, in your teal hymnal.
We come from the fire, living in the fire, go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water, go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain, go back to the mountain, turn the world around. Whoa, so is life.
Please remain as you are for these closing words that are adapted with respect and humility to Langston Hughes. Unitarian Universalism, faith created in common, dream nourished in common. Keep your hand on the plow. Hold on. If the house is not yet finished, don't be discouraged, builder. If the fight is not yet won, don't be weary, soldier. The plan and the pattern is here, woven from the beginning into the warp and woof of Unitarian Universalism. Go in peace, go making peace. Live gently, love mightily, bowing to the mystery and returning to the annual meeting. Please be seated for the postlude.